There are times in life when people, knowingly or unknowingly, manipulate our emotions. They toy with our feelings, twist them, play with them in ways that leave us wondering if what we feel is even real. It's a quiet kind of cruelty, a silent battle that happens behind the scenes with no words or obvious actions to make it clear. But in the subtlety of their behavior, they are changing us, molding us, pushing us toward a state where we are no longer sure where we stand. It's a game they play, one that often has no winner, but leaves us with the scars of confusion and hurt. You see, this manipulation isn't always loud or aggressive. It doesn't announce itself with bold gestures or grand speeches. It's the look they give you when you speak your truth, the slight shift in tone when they listen to your heart, the pause that hangs in the air after you've shared something deeply personal, only for them to respond with indifference. It's the way they string you along, making you believe that you matter, that your feelings are important. And then just when you think they're beginning to understand, they pull away, leaving you questioning your worth and your place in their life. It's not always the big things that break us, but the little moments, the soft, imperceptible actions that seem harmless at first, but over time become unbearable. When they don't pick up the phone, not because they're busy, but because they know you'll call again. When they tell you they care, but their actions speak otherwise. When they promise the world and give you nothing. It's the lies they tell that are so wrapped up in truth you can't even see where the deception starts. It's the withdrawal of affection that you don't see coming, the sudden change in demeanor that confuses your heart, leaving you questioning every moment you spent thinking you were loved. They play with your feelings in ways that are almost too subtle to catch in the moment. It's the way they make you feel like you matter when they need you, but disappear when you need them the most. They've learned how to manipulate the human condition, how to pull the strings that make us bend, break, and stretch ourselves in ways we didn't even think possible. They do it without even lifting a finger, without saying a word. They just play on our deepest insecurities, our fears, our hopes, our desires. They know exactly what buttons to press, exactly when to pull back, when to hold tight, and when to let go. At first, we think it's nothing. Maybe it's just a bad day. Maybe they're going through something. Maybe we misread the signs or we're just too sensitive. But as time goes on, the same patterns repeat, and we begin to see the truth. They're not accidentally hurting us, they're doing it on purpose. Maybe not consciously, but they know what they're doing. They know exactly how to make us feel unworthy, small, and insignificant without ever saying a word. They give you just enough to keep you coming back. A sweet word here, a thoughtful gesture there, enough to make you believe that things are changing, that you're moving forward, that the love is real. But then, in the quietest moments, they pull away again. The distance grows, and you find yourself constantly trying to fill the void, to reach out, to bridge the gap that they continue to widen without a second thought. Every time you try to connect, they retreat, leaving you with nothing but the ghost of the connection you once had. It's not love. Not real love. Love doesn't make you feel like you're on an emotional roller coaster, constantly moving up and down without knowing when the ride will end. Love doesn't leave you questioning yourself, wondering if you're too much or too little, if you're asking for too much or not enough. Real love isn't about manipulation, control, or emotional power plays. Real love is steady. It's unwavering. It's not a game, not something you need to chase, not something that leaves you feeling empty when it's supposed to fill you up. But these people, they know the game. They've learned it. They've seen it in others. They've felt it themselves. And now they're experts at playing it. They play with your emotions, feeding you just enough to keep you invested, to keep you hooked. They know that the longer they keep you in their web, the harder it will be for you to get out. They understand the pull of attachment, the way the heart works, how it can grow accustomed to things that aren't good for it, how it can be manipulated into staying when it should leave. We all want to believe in the goodness of others, in the idea that people will treat us with the same respect and care that we try to offer them. But the truth is, not everyone comes into our lives with good intentions. Some are just looking to use us to get what they need from us, to extract our energy and our love without ever giving anything back. They take without giving and leave us drained, hollowed out, unsure of ourselves. You might catch on to the game eventually. You might see the patterns, start to realize the manipulation, start to feel the emotional exhaustion. But by then, they've already done the damage. They've already planted seeds of doubt in your mind. They've already made you question your worth, your value, your place in the world. They've made you feel like you're the problem, like you're the one who is too demanding, too emotional, too difficult. But it's not you, it's them. It's the way they use your emotions as a tool, as a means of control. And the worst part is that they don't always do it because they hate you. Sometimes they do it because they don't know any better. Maybe they've been hurt in the past and learned to protect themselves by manipulating others before they can be hurt again. Maybe they were never taught how to love properly, how to give and receive love in a healthy way. Maybe they think that this is how relationships work, that love is a transaction, that affection is something you earn rather than something you give freely. But none of that excuses the harm they cause. Because in the end, the people who love us, the ones who truly care, they don't play games with our hearts. They don't manipulate our emotions or leave us questioning where we stand. They don't give us false hope and then disappear when we need them most. They show up. They stay. They give. They don't make us feel small or unworthy. They make us feel seen, heard, and valued. There are times, though, when the silent manipulation gets so deep that we don't even recognize ourselves anymore. We become lost in the illusion they've created, questioning our own feelings, our thoughts, our desires. We bend and mold ourselves into what they want us to be, suppressing the parts of ourselves that they don't like, that they don't understand. We forget who we are and what we need, and we start to believe that their version of us is the only version that matters. But it's not, and it never will be. We are more than the way they see us. We are more than the sum of their manipulations, their games, their silent cruelty. We are worthy of love that doesn't come with strings attached, love that doesn't make us feel like we're walking on eggshells, love that doesn't leave us questioning if we're enough. In the end, the only way to stop the game is to stop playing. The only way to break free from the cycle is to walk away. You don't owe them anything. You don't owe anyone your time, your heart, your energy if they're just going to play with it, twist it, and leave you in pieces. You deserve better. You deserve the kind of love that doesn't hurt, that doesn't play with your emotions, that doesn't make you feel like you're constantly fighting for something that was never truly there. Don't let them make you feel small. Don't let them play with your heart. Don't let them tell you who you are or what you deserve. Take back control. Stand tall. Know your worth. And when you recognize that someone is playing with your emotions, don't be afraid to walk away. Because you deserve a love that builds you up, not one that tears you down. You deserve a life where you are valued, not manipulated. And you deserve peace. People who manipulate our feelings often do so quietly, with small actions or words that go unnoticed at first. Over time, this silent manipulation wears us down, leaving us questioning our own worth and reality. Manipulative behaviors in relationships create confusion and emotional turmoil, making us feel like we are constantly chasing affection or validation. This kind of relationship is unhealthy and unsustainable, leaving us feeling drained and unsure of ourselves. True love is not about manipulation or control, it's about mutual respect, trust, and understanding. Relationships that involve emotional manipulation make us feel unimportant and insignificant, undermining our sense of self-worth. The key to healing is recognizing when someone is manipulating your emotions and taking steps to free yourself. You deserve a relationship where you are valued, not controlled, and understanding your worth is the first step toward breaking the cycle of emotional manipulation. Emotional manipulation is often seen as something that happens in loud, dramatic ways where people overtly deceive or deceive others. The reality, however, is that emotional manipulation often occurs in much quieter, more subtle ways. It's not always about harsh words or obvious actions. Sometimes it's the small, seemingly innocent gestures, comments, or omissions that leave us questioning our emotions, our feelings, and even our sense of self. These subtle manipulations can be so expertly woven into our daily interactions that we don't even realize we're being affected until it's too late. This kind of manipulation can erode our confidence, leave us feeling worthless, and confuse our understanding of what is truly real and what is fabricated by someone else to serve their needs. At the core of emotional manipulation lies a deep understanding of human vulnerability. We all have weaknesses, and those who are adept at manipulation know exactly where to press. These weaknesses might manifest in different ways for different people, but they often include fears of abandonment, inadequacy, loneliness, or the need for validation. The manipulator doesn't have to force these weaknesses to the surface. They know how to subtly pull on those threads, sometimes unknowingly, and leave us second-guessing our emotions and decisions. It might start with a kind word, a compliment, or a show of care, small gestures that make us feel special and valued. But over time, the manipulator shifts the dynamic, turning those moments into tools for their own control. The subtlety of emotional manipulation is what makes it so difficult to detect. Unlike overt manipulation, which often comes with visible signs of control, aggression, or deceit, emotional manipulation hides behind a mask of affection, kindness, or concern. At first, we might even feel grateful for the attention or care we receive, believing that the person genuinely has our best interests at heart. The manipulator carefully crafts their behavior to ensure that we are drawn in, invested in the relationship, and emotionally reliant on them. They know how to make us feel special, how to use our desire for approval and affection as a way to ensnare us. But just as we start to feel comfortable, something shifts. The attention we once received in abundance becomes sporadic. The compliments start to feel less sincere, and the connection feels more distant than before. These shifts are often so small and gradual that we don't notice them at first. They may come in the form of a slight change in tone, a pause in conversation, or a comment that seems trivial but leaves us with a lingering sense of doubt. They might make us feel like we're being too sensitive when we question their actions or words. When we begin to feel confused, it becomes easier for the manipulator to deflect our concerns by labeling them as overreactions, which further undermines our confidence. In these moments, the manipulator is working to create a sense of dependence, where we rely on them for validation, approval, and even our emotional stability. When we start to question ourselves, we turn to them for reassurance, but the reassurance comes with strings attached. We end up feeling like we have to prove ourselves, our worth, or our love in order to gain their approval or attention. One of the most insidious aspects of emotional manipulation is how it makes us question our own reality. We may start to doubt our own perceptions and memories, wondering if we're misinterpreting situations or overreacting to things that others wouldn't be bothered by. This can happen when the manipulator uses tactics such as gaslighting, where they make us feel like our emotions are invalid or unfounded. They might downplay situations, dismiss our concerns, or deny things that they said or did, all in an effort to confuse us. The manipulator may even accuse us of being too emotional or too sensitive, which makes us feel self-conscious about expressing our feelings in the future. This constant invalidation erodes our self-esteem and sense of self-worth, leaving us vulnerable to further manipulation. The subtlety of emotional manipulation also means that it can be hard to spot, not just in the moment, but in the long term. In a healthy relationship, when something doesn't feel right, we usually have the ability to recognize the issue and address it. But in a manipulated relationship, we often question ourselves so much that we lose the ability to trust our instincts. We become uncertain of our emotions, unable to distinguish between what's real and what's been twisted. We may also begin to feel as though we are the ones causing problems in the relationship, as if we are the source of the emotional tension, when in fact it's the manipulator's actions that are causing the strain. Over time, this creates a toxic cycle, where we continue to seek approval and reassurance from the manipulator, and they continue to withhold it, leaving us feeling inadequate and insecure. In addition to using gaslighting and invalidation, emotional manipulators are also masters of creating emotional highs and lows. They know how to give just enough affection, attention, or care to keep us invested, but then they pull back, creating a sense of longing or uncertainty. This push and pull dynamic keeps us on edge, constantly chasing after the validation and affection that feels just out of reach. When they pull away, we feel a sense of loss or abandonment, which makes us work harder to regain their attention. This cycle repeats itself, reinforcing our dependence on their approval and making it harder for us to break free from the emotional grip they've established. They know that by keeping us in a state of emotional tension, they can keep us engaged in the relationship, even when it's not healthy for us. What makes emotional manipulation so powerful is that it taps into the core of who we are as human beings. We all want to feel loved, valued, and understood. These desires are not weaknesses, they are part of what makes us human. Emotional manipulators exploit these natural needs, using them as a means of control. They understand how to play on our fears and insecurities, how to make us feel like we're not enough, and how to make us doubt ourselves. They know exactly when to show affection and when to withdraw, keeping us constantly off balance and emotionally invested in their behavior. And because these manipulations are often so subtle, we don't always recognize that we are being controlled until the damage has already been done. This kind of emotional manipulation can affect many aspects of our lives. In romantic relationships, it can make us feel unworthy of love and affection, as if we have to constantly prove ourselves to earn the other person's attention. In friendships, it can create a sense of guilt or obligation, where we feel like we have to constantly meet someone's emotional needs without ever receiving the same in return. In family dynamics, it can lead to feelings of resentment or obligation, where we are made to feel responsible for the happiness of others, even at the expense of our own well-being. No matter the context, emotional manipulation can create deep emotional wounds that are difficult to heal, especially when we don't recognize the manipulation until it's too late. The impact of emotional manipulation is profound because it changes the way we see ourselves. It makes us question our self-worth, our ability to trust others, and even our understanding of what is right and wrong. When we are manipulated, we begin to internalize the messages that are being sent to us, messages that tell us we are not enough, that we are too sensitive, that our feelings are invalid, that we are not worthy of love. Over time, these messages can become ingrained in our self-perception, making it even harder to break free from the cycle of manipulation. We start to believe that we are the problem, that we are the ones who are difficult or demanding, and that we need to change in order to gain the love or validation we seek. The truth is, emotional manipulation is not something we can simply get over or fix by changing ourselves. The responsibility for the manipulation lies with the person who is engaging in those behaviors, not with us. We are not the ones who need to change in order to make the relationship work. We are the ones who need to recognize the manipulation and take steps to protect ourselves. The first step in breaking free from emotional manipulation is recognizing it for what it is. It's acknowledging that the behaviors we are experiencing are not normal, healthy, or loving. They are manipulative and controlling. It's understanding that we deserve to be treated with respect, kindness, and honesty, and that we don't have to tolerate behavior that makes us feel small, unworthy, or insecure. Once we recognize the manipulation, we can begin to take back control of our emotions and our relationships. This may mean setting boundaries, distancing ourselves from the manipulative person, or seeking support from others who can offer us a more objective perspective. It may also involve working on rebuilding our own self-esteem so that we can trust ourselves again and not rely on someone else's approval to feel validated. Emotional manipulation is powerful because it works on our deepest fears and vulnerabilities. But it's important to remember that we have the strength to break free from it. We deserve to be loved for who we are, not for what someone else can gain from us. We are worthy of relationships that nurture us, not drain us. And we are capable of recognizing the signs of manipulation before it does lasting damage to our sense of self. Toxic relationships have a way of creating emotional roller coasters that leave us exhausted, uncertain, and emotionally drained. It's not just about a few bad days or occasional misunderstandings. It's about a constant cycle of emotional highs and lows, where every interaction feels unpredictable, unstable, and overwhelming. The ride is intense, the feelings are extreme, and yet we often find ourselves holding on, trying to make sense of the chaos, trying to find balance in a relationship that keeps throwing us off course. The emotional roller coaster can be so all-consuming that we begin to lose sight of who we are, what we want, and even what we need in a relationship. We become caught up in the drama, in the highs that feel like the greatest love we've ever known, and the lows that make us feel small, insignificant, and lost. One of the most damaging aspects of a toxic relationship is the unpredictability. One moment, the person you're involved with might shower you with love, attention, and affection, making you feel like the most important person in the world. You feel cherished, valued, and appreciated. But just when you begin to feel secure, when you start to believe that things are getting better, something changes. The affection disappears, the warmth fades, and the same person who was once so loving now becomes distant, cold, or even dismissive. In a matter of moments, the emotional warmth you once experienced is replaced with a sharp chill, leaving you confused and disoriented. You begin to question what you did wrong, why things changed, and whether you can fix it. This constant back and forth, this dramatic shift between affection and indifference, creates an emotional instability that makes it nearly impossible to find a sense of peace or stability in the relationship. The highs of a toxic relationship are often intoxicating. They make us feel alive, desired, and worthy of love. These moments, when the person we care about seems to be fully invested, can give us a sense of hope and validation. We believe that the relationship has potential, that we are building something real and lasting. The affection feels so genuine, so deep, that we begin to ignore the subtle signs of trouble, dismissed boundaries, hurtful words, or manipulative behavior because the high we experience in those rare, golden moments convinces us that everything will be okay. The highs are like a drug. They give us a sense of euphoria that we crave, even though we know, deep down, that they are fleeting. This is what makes the roller coaster so addictive, the hope that the next high will be better than the last, that the affection and attention will last longer, that the relationship will finally settle into something stable and secure. But the lows in a toxic relationship are just as powerful, if not more so. When the person you care about suddenly withdraws, becomes hostile, or behaves in a way that is dismissive or cruel, the emotional drop can be devastating. The pain is sharp and sudden, leaving you questioning everything you thought you knew about the relationship. What did I do wrong? Why are they acting like this? These are the questions that run through your mind when you are caught in the midst of an emotional low. The sudden shift from warmth to coldness creates a sense of confusion as you try to reconcile the loving person you thought you knew with the one who now seems distant and uncaring. This emotional whiplash can leave you feeling like you're walking on eggshells, constantly trying to avoid triggering another emotional downfall. It's not just the sudden shifts that make the emotional roller coaster so exhausting, but the repeated cycle of these highs and lows. You find yourself riding the wave, holding your breath during the good moments and bracing for impact when the inevitable low comes crashing down. Over time, this cycle becomes so familiar that you start to anticipate it, always waiting for the next emotional drop, never fully able to relax or feel secure. You can become so accustomed to this emotional instability that it starts to feel normal, and you begin to measure the worth of the relationship based on the frequency of the highs and lows. The more intense the swings, the more you feel invested, the more you believe that this is what love is supposed to look like. But the truth is, this constant back and forth is far from healthy. It's a toxic dynamic that creates stress, anxiety, and emotional exhaustion. What's more insidious is the way toxic relationships blur the lines between love and manipulation. The emotional roller coaster is often built on a foundation of control, where the person we're involved with knows exactly how to create these highs and lows in order to keep us hooked. They may use affection as a reward, pulling us in with love and care when it suits them, and then withdrawing it when they want to gain control. This push and pull dynamic keeps us on edge, constantly trying to regain the affection and attention we had, making us more likely to accept the manipulative behavior in exchange for those fleeting moments of warmth. The emotional roller coaster becomes a way for the toxic person to keep us engaged, to maintain power over us by controlling the emotional ups and downs. The emotional exhaustion that comes from these roller coasters is real. You start to feel like you're living for the highs, waiting for the next moment of affection, approval, or love, but the lows drain you, leaving you feeling empty, anxious, and unsure of your own worth. The emotional highs create a sense of euphoria, but the emotional lows leave you questioning your reality, your self-worth, and your ability to trust your own emotions. Over time, this can take a significant toll on your mental and emotional health. The constant stress of living in a relationship where you never know what to expect can lead to feelings of anxiety, depression, and hopelessness. This emotional roller coaster can also affect other areas of your life. Because your emotional state is constantly fluctuating, you may find it difficult to focus on work, school, or other responsibilities. Your relationships with friends and family may suffer because you are so consumed by the emotional ups and downs of the toxic relationship that you don't have the energy or mental clarity to invest in other important areas of your life. You may become isolated, withdrawing from people who care about you because you don't want them to see the turmoil you're going through. This isolation deepens the hold the toxic person has on you, making it harder to escape the cycle of emotional manipulation and instability. The difficulty of breaking free from a toxic relationship lies in the way the emotional roller coaster distorts our perception of reality. We begin to believe that the highs justify the lows, that the love we experience in those rare, beautiful moments is worth the pain we endure during the emotional crashes. This belief can make it incredibly difficult to leave the relationship, even when we know, deep down, that it's unhealthy. We hold on to the hope that things will change, that the good moments will outweigh the bad ones, that the relationship will settle into something more stable and fulfilling. But this hope is often based on illusion, on the belief that things will get better on their own, without addressing the underlying issues that cause the emotional instability in the first place. Over time, the emotional roller coaster becomes a pattern, one that is difficult to break because it's so ingrained in the way we interact with the other person. You may start to believe that the only way to feel loved is to endure the emotional highs and lows, that this is the only way love can be expressed. But in truth, this pattern is not healthy and it's not sustainable. True love doesn't come with constant emotional turmoil. Real love is about consistency, trust, and mutual respect, not about controlling or manipulating someone's emotions in order to maintain power or gain attention. The key to breaking free from the emotional roller coaster of a toxic relationship is recognizing it for what it is. You must be able to see that the highs are not genuine love, but emotional manipulation. The lows are not a sign of a deep, meaningful connection, but rather an indication of an unhealthy and unstable dynamic. Recognizing that the emotional swings are damaging to your well-being is the first step in regaining control over your emotions and your life. Once you understand the toll the roller coaster is taking on your mental, emotional, and physical health, you can begin to take steps to break free from the cycle. This might involve setting clear boundaries, distancing yourself from the toxic person, and seeking support from friends, family, or a therapist who can help you rebuild your sense of self and your emotional resilience. It's important to understand that leaving a toxic relationship isn't about giving up on love. It's about choosing to prioritize your own well-being, happiness, and mental health. You deserve to be in a relationship that offers stability, peace, and emotional safety, not one that leaves you feeling like you're riding an unpredictable and dangerous roller coaster. In the end, toxic relationships create emotional roller coasters because they are built on instability, control, and manipulation. The highs are designed to draw us in, while the lows are meant to keep us off balance and emotionally dependent. Breaking free from this cycle is essential for healing, for regaining control over our emotions, and for rebuilding our sense of self-worth. True love should not feel like a constant ride of highs and lows. It should offer security, consistency, and a sense of peace. When we recognize the damage caused by toxic relationships, we can begin to choose healthier paths, building relationships that bring out the best in us, rather than keeping us on a never-ending emotional ride. Love, in its most genuine form, is one of the most sacred, transformative, and fulfilling experiences in life. It has the power to heal, connect, and uplift. True love is rooted in mutual respect, understanding, and a deep, unshakable bond that isn't subject to games or manipulation. However, for many, love becomes something far less pure, something that is reduced to a contest of power, control, and emotional tactics. When love is turned into a game, it distorts the true essence of what it means to love and be loved, leaving both partners tangled in confusion, pain, and frustration. In a healthy relationship, love should be about supporting one another, celebrating each other's strengths, comforting each other in moments of weakness, and growing together as individuals and as a couple. Love should be a foundation of trust and compassion, where both people feel secure and valued. But when love becomes a game, all of this changes. The focus shifts from genuine connection to emotional manipulation, from care and compassion to winning and losing. It becomes about scoring points, setting traps, and gaining the upper hand rather than nurturing a deep and meaningful relationship. When love is treated as a game, one person often seeks to manipulate or control the other for their own personal satisfaction, rather than being concerned with the well-being of their partner. This can manifest in a variety of ways, all of which undermine the integrity of the relationship. For example, one partner might withhold affection or play hot and cold in order to create a sense of uncertainty and keep the other partner constantly guessing. This tactic keeps the other person emotionally on edge, unsure of where they stand, and desperate to win their affection. By doing this, the manipulator gets a sense of power over the other person, knowing they can control their emotions and reactions. This is not love, it is manipulation, and it erodes the trust that is so vital to any successful relationship. The idea that love is a game often manifests through mind games, little tricks, and psychological tactics designed to confuse, frustrate, or even hurt the other person. A partner might intentionally say something hurtful or playfully provoke the other to test their boundaries, all the while pretending it's just a harmless game. The manipulator may even feign indifference, pretending that they don't care about the relationship, to elicit a reaction or to make the other person more eager to please them. This creates a toxic cycle where both people are stuck in a loop of trying to outwit or outmaneuver each other, instead of working together to build a healthy relationship. The emotional toll this takes on both people is often profound. Instead of feeling secure, loved, and accepted, the person on the receiving end of this game often feels confused, frustrated, and emotionally drained. One of the most damaging elements of turning love into a game is the erosion of trust. Trust is the bedrock of any relationship, and without it, no relationship can survive. But when love becomes a game, trust becomes something to be tested, manipulated, and destroyed. For example, one person might use jealousy as a tactic to control the other, playing with their emotions by flirting with others or intentionally creating situations that trigger feelings of insecurity. They might pretend to be uninterested in the relationship at times, only to come back with intense affection, making their partner feel like they are constantly competing for their attention and approval. This back and forth behavior creates doubt, insecurity, and a sense of unease, making it nearly impossible for either person to feel truly secure in the relationship. Another aspect of love as a game is the idea of winning and losing. In a healthy relationship, both partners should feel safe enough to be their true selves, to be open about their struggles, and to grow together through challenges. However, when love is manipulated into a game, vulnerability is seen as a weakness, and any sign of emotional openness becomes a tool for exploitation. Instead of offering comfort, love becomes a battleground where each person is afraid to show their true selves for fear of being judged or taken advantage of. The emotional connection that is supposed to exist between two people becomes strained, as both are more focused on protecting their egos or trying to win than on truly supporting one another. Love should be a space where both individuals feel safe, accepted, and understood. It should be about sharing a life together, lifting each other up, and offering unconditional support. When it is reduced to a game, it distorts everything that love is supposed to represent. The relationship is no longer a partnership, but a competition, one where winning and losing have far more significance than mutual care or respect. The person who treats love like a game doesn't see their partner as an equal, but rather as someone to be controlled, manipulated, and molded to fit their desires. One of the most destructive aspects of treating love as a game is the emotional toll it takes on both people involved. When you are constantly playing games with each other's hearts, it's impossible to find true peace and fulfillment in the relationship. The emotional stress, the confusion, and the instability wear away at your sense of self, leaving you feeling emotionally exhausted, unsure of who you are, and uncertain of what you want. It becomes harder to distinguish between real love and the distorted version of love that has been manipulated and controlled. The damage caused by this emotional manipulation can take years to heal, and often people find themselves carrying the emotional scars of these games long after the relationship is over. In a world where love is often misunderstood and distorted, it's essential to recognize that love should never be a game. It should not be about manipulation, control, or winning and losing. Love is about trust, respect, and mutual support. It's about being vulnerable with one another, working through challenges together, and creating a space where both people can be their true selves. Love is not a battlefield, it's a sanctuary. And when we treat it as anything less, we rob ourselves and our partners of the joy and fulfillment that true love can bring. Love is not something to be won or lost, it is something to be shared and nurtured with care, compassion, and understanding. Anything less is not love at all. Manipulation is a powerful yet often subtle force that can infiltrate our lives, relationships, and sense of self. When we think of manipulation, we may picture someone overtly controlling or coercive, but in reality, manipulation can be much more insidious. It can come in many forms, often disguised as love, concern, or care. It can be difficult to recognize, especially when it comes from someone we trust, love, or depend on. This is why understanding how manipulation works, how to recognize it, and most importantly, how to break free from its hold is essential for our emotional well-being and mental health. At its core, manipulation is about control. It's an effort to influence someone's thoughts, emotions, or behaviors for the manipulator's benefit. It often involves exploiting vulnerabilities, distorting reality, and playing on emotions to get what one wants, whether it's attention, validation, power, or resources. Manipulation can occur in all kinds of relationships, romantic, familial, friendships, and even at work. The person doing the manipulating may not always be fully aware of what they are doing, and this complicates the situation even further. Sometimes manipulation is masked by good intentions, such as pretending to care about the other person's well-being, while subtly guiding them toward a desired outcome. In many cases, the manipulator will not act with malice, but instead may feel justified in their actions, believing that their manipulation is necessary for a positive outcome. The most insidious aspect of manipulation is that it often begins small. It may seem like a harmless comment or an innocent request, but over time it can grow and take root in the relationship. Small manipulative behaviors may be easily dismissed or overlooked, especially if they occur sporadically and are followed by apologies or justifications. For example, someone might use guilt-tripping tactics such as saying, "I did this for you, and you can't even do this one thing for me." In the moment, it seems like a simple request, but over time, these guilt-laden comments can wear down a person's sense of autonomy, making them feel obligated to constantly please the manipulator, even at the expense of their own happiness or well-being. These seemingly innocuous actions can form a foundation of control, with the manipulator gradually increasing their demands and the victim of the manipulation becoming more and more compliant. One of the hallmarks of manipulation is gaslighting. Gaslighting is a psychological manipulation tactic in which the manipulator denies or distorts reality in a way that causes the victim to doubt their own perceptions, memories, or sanity. The manipulator might deny something they said or did, making the victim question their recollection of events. Over time, this constant undermining of the victim's reality can lead to confusion, insecurity, and a diminished sense of self-worth. For example, a manipulative partner might tell you that you're overreacting when you express concern about their behavior, or they might claim you're just too sensitive even if their actions were clearly hurtful. These repeated denials of reality can cause you to second-guess yourself, eventually leading you to rely more on the manipulator's version of events than your own instincts and experiences. Recognizing manipulation is difficult, particularly because it often happens slowly and subtly. It can be especially hard to detect when the manipulator is someone you care about or trust. You may not notice the emotional toll it's taking on you until you're already deeply entrenched in the relationship. The manipulator may even use tactics that make you feel special, such as showering you with attention or affection when you meet their needs, creating a cycle of emotional highs and lows. The highs feel like love and validation, while the lows make you feel as though you are not good enough, creating a powerful emotional bond. These emotional swings can make it difficult to break free as you become addicted to the highs and find yourself justifying the lows, telling yourself that the manipulative behavior is just part of the relationship. It's not until the emotional toll becomes too great that you begin to question whether this dynamic is healthy. Another way manipulation is often hidden is through passive-aggressive behavior. A passive-aggressive person will avoid direct confrontation but will instead express their anger or dissatisfaction through indirect means. For instance, they might give you the silent treatment when upset, making you feel confused or anxious, or they might make backhanded compliments or sarcastic remarks designed to make you feel small or guilty. Passive aggressiveness is a form of manipulation because it forces the victim to take on the emotional burden of figuring out what's wrong without any direct communication. It makes the victim feel responsible for resolving the issue, all while the manipulator avoids accountability for their own feelings. The silence or indirect expression of anger puts the victim in the position of constantly trying to fix the relationship or make peace, all while never truly addressing the underlying issues. Manipulation also plays on the victim's empathy and desire to please. The manipulator might use expressions of neediness, saying things like, "I don't know what I'd do without you," or "You're the only person who understands me," in order to make you feel indispensable to their happiness. This tactic plays into the victim's natural inclination to help, nurture, and care for those they love, making them feel as though their worth is directly tied to their ability to meet the manipulator's emotional needs. Over time, this creates a sense of obligation, where the victim feels like they can't say no or set boundaries without disappointing the other person or risking the collapse of the relationship. This type of manipulation can leave the victim emotionally exhausted and feeling like they are walking a tightrope, never quite sure when or how they will be needed next. In order to break free from manipulation, it's important to first recognize the signs and admit that the behavior is not acceptable. The process of breaking free begins with acknowledging that you are being manipulated and that this behavior is harmful to your emotional, mental, and even physical well-being. Recognizing manipulation is the first step toward regaining control over your life and your emotions. It requires self-awareness and an honest assessment of the relationship or situation. Ask yourself, are you consistently feeling drained or anxious? Do you find yourself questioning your own actions, thoughts, or feelings? Are you often apologizing for things you didn't do or feel guilty for things that aren't your fault? These are all signs that manipulation may be taking place. Once you recognize the behavior for what it is, you can begin to take steps toward breaking free. The next step is to establish clear boundaries. Manipulators thrive in environments where there are no clear lines or limits. They will push, prod, and test your boundaries, hoping to find ways to break you down and gain more control. Setting boundaries can be difficult, especially if you're used to accommodating the other person's needs at your own expense. However, boundaries are crucial for protecting your emotional and mental health. It's important to be firm and consistent in communicating your boundaries. This may involve saying no without feeling guilty or withdrawing from situations where manipulation occurs. You have the right to protect yourself from people who seek to control or manipulate you, and enforcing boundaries is one of the most powerful ways to regain control. Another critical aspect of breaking free from manipulation is building a support system. Manipulators often try to isolate their victims, making them feel alone or unsupported. They may try to create rifts between you and other people who care about you in order to weaken your resolve and make you more dependent on them. In order to combat this, it's essential to stay connected to your friends, family, or any other sources of support you have. Talking to people who understand your situation can offer perspective and reassurance that the manipulative behavior is not normal or acceptable. Supportive people can help you stay grounded, reminding you of your worth and the importance of standing up for yourself. Finally, breaking free from manipulation may involve seeking professional help. Sometimes the manipulation is so deeply ingrained or harmful that it's difficult to untangle on your own. A therapist or counselor can help you gain a deeper understanding of the manipulative dynamics at play and provide tools for dealing with them. Therapy can also help you rebuild your self-esteem, recognize patterns in your relationships, and develop healthier coping strategies. Breaking free from manipulation is not easy, and it's not a quick process. It takes time, effort, and a commitment to yourself and your well-being. But with awareness, boundaries, support, and professional help if needed, it is entirely possible to free yourself from manipulation and rebuild your sense of self. It may be a difficult journey, but the freedom that comes with recognizing and standing up to manipulation is worth every step. It's important to remember that you deserve love, respect, and genuine connection, not manipulation, control, or emotional games.